All right, Salt House. Hey, I am coming to you live and direct from my new office in the toddler room in the church, as you can see. Yeah, pretty good digs, I think. Yeah, good. So, hey, this is a working sermon. So, what I mean by that is, if you're gonna get anything out of this sermon, you gotta put some work into this. All right. So, here's what you need. You need to have a writing utensil or paper, computer, whatever it might be, so that you can write some stuff down during this sermon. And then also, I want you to be making comments also throughout this time. So go get that now. I'll wait for you. Okay, you got it? Okay, good, awesome. All right, Psalms, here we go. You ready? Starting with a confession. I can be pretty skeptical of anything that I think is too happy. I have this assumption that unless it's like dark and brooding, then it's probably not authentic. This is why I'm really bad at small talk. So I'm changing my mind about this now, though. Change is possible. I'm changing my mind, and I want to tell you about it this morning. So glad is a dominant emotion in the Psalms. That's part of why I'm changing my mind. Because glad is a dominant emotion in the Psalms. And it's mentioned, it's just like all over, hundreds of times mentioned. And so I have to believe that the writers of the Psalms know, like deep in their bones, know what authentic joy feels like. It's not a trite or superficial or contrived or pretending type of joy. I mean, this is no shallow, happy, clappy stuff here. This is like a hard fought gladness. This is like a through the fire and the flood kind of joy that cannot be artificially manufactured. The psalmists, they call it, the joy of Yahweh, joy in God's presence. And my goodness, more and more, that is something that I want. I could use more of that right now. I value that. I think it's something that all of us could use right now. I mean, are you with me there? Is this something you want, right? I actually now think that gladness is it's a form of resistance. Gladness is a way to resist the overwhelming pessimism and cynicism that we're inundated with. Gladness is a form of resistance. Even just physically. Did you know that it takes twice as many muscles to smile than it does to frown? See, I mean, gladness takes work. I told you this is going to be a working sermon, right? In his book, The Divine Dance, Brother Rohr points out that neuroscience now tells us that fear, negativity, and hatred stick like Velcro to the nerves, while positivity, gratitude, and appreciation, they slide away like Teflon from those same nerves until we savor them or choose them for a minimum of a conscious 15 seconds. Only then do they imprint. Please reflect on this, Rohr says. The positive, loving, and non-argumentative savoring of the moment is called contemplation. So that is what I wish to offer this morning, a practice of contemplation. Because I think this is what the Psalms are doing. They are a meditation practice that brings us into the presence of God, where genuine joy is to be found. So this is not a recipe for gladness. It's not 4 easy steps. But, I don't know. Who knows? I think there are ways to make yourself more available to joy. So let's try this out. Okay, on your piece of paper or on your laptop, first write down the word glad in the left-hand side of the page, kind of as if you were creating an acrostic poem, right? So big G, big L, big A, big D. This is elementary school. Here we go. Ready? And there's going to be a different word and a different invitation for each of the letters of glad. You got that? Okay. So the first one is G, and G is for gratitude. Gratitude exercises has been popularized lately. Research has been done on the effectiveness of thankfulness, but I think there's something unique for the psalmist here. It's more specific than just think about anything that you're grateful for. I mean, for the psalmist, there's an understanding that your story is part of a bigger story, that the gift you have received has a particular giver. Therefore, all thanks is a prayer to the Creator. So, Psalm 9, 1-2 says, I wholeheartedly thank you, Yahweh, when I remember all that you have done for me. Gladness fills me up, and I pour it out to you. And now I'm singing your song of praise, O Most High God. How does the psalmist get to glad? By remembering all that Yahweh has done for me. Gratitude begins with remembering. So, how about you? What has God done for you? Begin writing on your paper. What are you grateful for? It's likely that it's grounded in your story. A brother was telling me this last week that, hey, I got let go from my job during this pandemic, and I thought it was just going to be the end for me and my family, but I had no way of seeing that my last job was actually incredibly toxic and making me sick until God surprised me with this new job. So grateful, tied into his story, and all of that gratitude returning to its source, to the Creator. So what are you grateful for? How is it playing out of your story? Go ahead and write that down. Put that in the comments below. The psalmist gets to glad, beginning with gratitude. Next one, L. L is for learning. To have the posture of a student. To not be too proud that you can't learn anything new. I mean, God, what a small and truncated world we would live in if there was nothing new to learn. Psalms often, they share this same thread with wisdom literature, the genre in the Bible, in that they promote this posture of lifelong learning. The wise are the ones who take the role of the student in all things. It's the trust that says, Yahweh, you are my teacher, and there is something to be learned in every circumstance. So, what is it? What is it that you're learning in this moment? Psalm 25, 4-5 says, school me in your ways, O Yahweh. Show me how you work. Take me by the hand. Lead me down the path of truth. So are you learning? Are you learning right now? There is a gladness that comes from learning. It is the zest of life. So write down the questions that you're searching, the curiosities that you're chasing. What don't you know that you want to know? If you're not experiencing God's gladness, perhaps it's because you've settled into the belief that there's nothing new for you to learn. That would be a sad day. So what are you learning? Go ahead and write it down. Write it in the comments below. I'd love to see. Then the A of glad is for accomplishment. We got to celebrate all the little wins that we can. We did this cleanup day at the church just the other day. It was great to see everyone there. And at the end of it, we just circled up in this big socially distanced circle, and we just celebrated all the little wins of cleaning up that rhododendron plant and weeding that area and cutting the limbs off of that dead tree over there. And we just celebrated. And it was a glad event. So what are you celebrating? What accomplishments? I mean, I get the sense that things are being accomplished right now during a pandemic that may not have been able to be accomplished under normal circumstances. I think in the larger culture, the sustained attention on racial justice and the opportunities that this moment might afford, right? The accomplishments. And on a more individual scale, I'm hearing about all the household projects getting done. I just replaced a screen on our back door. I mean, my kid walked through it the next day, but But I did that, right? I accomplished something. And that brings a feeling of dignity, that kind of deep gladness. So what are you accomplishing? Celebrate all the little wins. Psalm 90:17 says, "Let the grace of Yahweh our God be upon us and accomplish for us what we set out to do. Oh, prosper the work of our hands." The psalmist knows that even our accomplishments are a gift of God. So what are you accomplishing these days? There's gladness in it. Mark it, celebrate it. It cultivates gladness. Maybe it might be something small, like you cleaned out your pantry, right? Or it might be something big, like you finally started therapy, something you've been wanting to do for a long time. It's a big deal. Celebrate it. These quarantine times are giving us unique opportunities to do things that we never would have been able to do in regular times. So put it in the comments, write it down. What are you accomplishing right now? And then lastly, D is for delight. Now, this is different than gratitude. Whereas gratitude is stimulated by remembering, it's past oriented, delight occurs in the present moment, in the right now moment. What are you delighting in this moment? It's a form of pleasure. Oh, so good. Something, maybe that first sip of coffee. But maybe it's iced coffee on this morning. I don't know. The psalmist says this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day. This is the moment. The I am can be found only in this moment. And there is joy in the presence of the Lord. So become present to this moment. Pinch yourself. You are alive right now. There's another psalmist who once said, look around, how lucky we are to be alive right now. You hear the delight in that? What do you delight in? Share it in the comments below. I cannot promise you that this is like a step-by-step recipe for joy, but it's pretty hard not to experience joy, or what the scriptures call the joy of Yahweh. When you focus your energy on these things, when you focus your energy on gratitude and remembering the goodness of God in your life, it's pretty hard not to experience gladness when you take a beginner's mindset and you approach life with curiosity, or when you celebrate the wins, no matter how small they seem, and when you slow down enough to delight in this present moment, to delight in being alive, to become present to the pleasure of being alive in this moment. It is more important now, probably than ever, to resist cynicism, to resist negativity that misses the great goodness of God that can be found all around us. So glad this practice that the psalmists seem to make such use of. It's something that you can do. You could do it every morning. It's not a recipe for gladness, but it sure is hard to not know the deep joy of God when we make the Psalms, we make this spiritual meditation practice our practice.